I seek refuge in God from the outcast Satan in the name of Allah who is gracious and merciful. Quran Topics by Tanvir Kazmi, chapter number 49, Inheritance, English audio. Al Nisa 4, verse 7. The men get a share of what the parents and the relatives leave behind. The women too shall get a share of what the parents and the relatives leave behind, whether it is small or a large inheritance. The woman must get a definite share. During distribution of the inheritance, if relatives, orphans, and needy persons are present, you shall give them therefrom, and treat them kindly. Those who are concerned about their own children, in case they leave them behind, shall observe God and be equitable. Those who consume the orphans' properties unjustly eat fire into their bellies, and it will suffer in hellfire. God decrees a will for the benefit of his children. The male gets twice the share of female. If inheritance are only women, more than two, they get two-thirds of what is bequeathed. If only one daughter is left, she gets one half. The parents of the deceased get one-sixth of the inheritance each. If the deceased has left any children, if he have left no children, and his parents are the only inheritors, and his parents are the only inheritors, the mother gets one-third. If he has siblings, then the mother get one-sixth. All this after fulfilling any will the deceased has left, and after paying off all debts. When it comes to your parents and your children, you do not know which of them is really the best to you and the most beneficial. This is God's law. Allah is all knowing, most wise. You get half of what your wives leave behind if they had no children. If they had children, you get one-fourth of what they leave. All this after fulfilling any will they had left and after paying off all the debts. They get one-fourth of what you leave behind if you had no children. If you have children, they get one-eighth of what you bequeathed. All this after fulfilling any will you had left and after paying off all the debts. If the deceased man or woman was a loner and leaves two siblings, male or female, each of them gets one-sixth of the inheritance. If there are more siblings, then they equally share one-third of the inheritance. All this after fulfilling any will and after paying off all debts, so that no one is hurt. This is a will decreed by God, and God is all knowing, clement. Al Nisa 4 verse 19. O you believe it is not, O you believe it is not lawful for you to inherit what the women leave behind against their will. You shall not force them to give up anything you had given them, unless they commit a proven adultery. You shall treat them nicely. If you dislike them, you may dislike something wherein God has placed a lot of good. Al-Nisa 4 verse 33. For you, for each of you we have designated, for each of you we have designated shares from the inheritance left by the parents and the relatives, also those related to you through marriage. You shall give them their due share. Allah witness all things. Al-Nisa 4 verse 176. They consult you, say, God advises you to concerning the single person. If one dies and leaves no children, and he had a sister, she gets half the inheritance. If she dies first, he inherits from her. If she left no children, if there were two sisters, they get two-thirds of the inheritance. If the two siblings are men and the woman, the male get twice the share of the female. God thus clarifies for you, lest you go away stray. God is fully aware of all things. Al Fajr 89, verse 15. When the human being is tested by his Lord through blessing and joy, he says, My Lord is generous towards me. But if we test him through a reduction in provisions, he says, my Lord is humiliating me. My Lord is humiliating me. Wrong. It is you who brought it on yourselves by not regarding the orphan and not advocating charity towards the poor and consuming the inheritance of helpless orphans.